Have you ever sat through an hour-long meeting at work just to get through it and wonder, what was the point of that meeting? It could have easily been an email, so why make the entire team sit through it? What a waste of time. You were just made a victim of a simulacrum. A simulacrum is a symbol that was supposed to represent something else, but has become detached from the thing it was originally supposed to represent. Symbols can be manipulated, so without that connection to the base phenomenon, they become corrupted and begin to do things they weren't supposed to do. The problem is defining productivity in a non-industrial workplace for things that don't inherently have discrete measurable outputs. This is pretty much any office work. Instead, a proxy is needed to indicate employee productivity, but the proxy for productivity from the manager's perspective is different from the proxy from the worker's perspective. The worker is closest to the labor being done, so he knows that a meeting that takes him away from accomplishing the tasks set before him actively hinders his productivity because he measures productivity through output. However, since there is a time lag to see the output of workers, and the value of the output may be difficult to assess, the manager instead uses activity or inputs as the proxy for productivity. If the manager sees the worker being busy, then he assumes that the worker is also productive, since he equates the two in his mind. Since the manager is distanced from the actual work, the proxy of activity for productivity even more so applies to the manager. So holding a meeting with the whole team for an hour is interpreted as being even more productive than sending out an email because it generates more activity, justifying the manager's existence. Experiencing all these disconnects or simulacra has walked you through the various emotional precursors for a hack. First, you notice the discrepancy in the actions of your manager and his stated objectives, resulting in frustration from this paradoxical behavior. Next, you become aware that the paradox exists because of the inability to measure true productivity, so proxies for productivity are being used instead. This is self-reflection. Finally, you realize that how you measure productivity is different from how your boss measures productivity. So, although you use the same word, you're talking about different things. This is empathy. Although your manager is inhibiting your ability to output, he's not talking about output when considering productivity. He is not acting irrationally, just ineffectively. He's actually acting quite predictably. You have the element of a symbol mistaken for phenomenon, and you understand where and how the gap exists, whereas your manager does not, so you have the recipe to hack the interaction. The frustration, self-reflection, and empathy are often natural byproducts of another paradox: being subject to a leader who is unfit to lead. Naturally, you are also aware of the asymmetry in the power dynamic between you and your manager, even if the way that you measure productivity is closer to the truth, because your manager has power over you. Playing to his view of reality will have a greater impact on your life at work than the actual results of your work. In other words, work is more than just the output of your labor, but has a significant component of performance to appear to labor. The performance of labor as more important than actual labor now enters the realm of pure simulacra, but the awareness of the simulacrum gives you options on how to engage with it. If you actually care about your work and don't want to be distracted, you can tell your manager that you need to be heads down on a project right now and ask if you can catch up with him later on the takeaways from the meeting. Maybe your manager is insistent that you attend this particular meeting, but you may be able to decline meetings from others, similarly trying to demonstrate their productivity by wasting your time with their meeting. Ask them what it's about, or if they have an agenda for the meeting, so you can answer any questions they may have without the need to meet. Or maybe you care less about the work itself and are trying to get ahead in the company, so you embrace the performance and set meetings of your own. Deep down, you know this already because you've seen others who don't actually get much done be promoted because they are good at the politics of work, which is the performance. You've also experienced the maxim of, the reward for good work is more work. Being efficient in your work is punished because finishing your work means that you are no longer showing activity. However, if you actually do care about your work and don't want to embrace the performance of work, pace the release so that you are not seen as having a gap in activity from finishing quickly. The awareness of a separation between the performance of work and the real activity of doing work gives you options on how to engage with that spectrum, rather than being stuck in frustration. However, the awareness of performance being more effective than actually doing work may slowly eat away at you if you consciously engage in the performance over what you know to be the real work, even if others are blissfully unaware. A hack is never meant to be something permanent. Still, the need for a hack ultimately stems from the still unresolved paradox of being subject to a leader who is unfit to lead. There is hope that you will find a leader who is deserving of your respect because he does not rely on unreliable proxies that can easily be hacked. And then maybe you won't need one because the paradox is resolved and the world is as it should be.